Welcome to EPG Patasala. We are continuing the theme relating to economic and financial administration, and this module focuses on budget as a tool for development and management. Friends, you might have noticed that when we won independence in 1947, the aspirations of the people were very high, and people thought that governments have to work hard for their welfare. Ours was underdeveloped country when we began our innings in 1947. Subsequently, we have introduced the concept of planning. In any debate relating to economic development and the role of the budget particularly, we should remember in the Indian context the role of planning between 1951 and 1991 and the role of the government. Subject number one. Number two is that how governments have regarded budget as an important tool for economic development there. Many definitions were already given about what a budget is. When it comes to the role of government in development, we are all reminded of the important instrument called budget. We have had many definitions on budget. One of the main objectives of budget is as an important mechanism or instrument through which we mobilize resources there. Earlier also we noted that in order to implement any policy for the welfare of the people, governments need money like any family. So, for the sake of development, we have adopted number of tools and instruments there like taxes, direct taxes and indirect taxes, loans, and also international aid for bringing in development there. So the budgetary process between 1951 and up until 2016 and 17 is to divide into plan and non-plan budget. The entire plan dimension of the budget is only meant for spending in a planned way for bringing in development or for speeding up development there. So, between 1951 and 1991, through various plans, Government of India mobilized resources for tackling a number of problems that are afflicting India and with a objective of speeding up development there. So what happened? Now, after nearly 69 years there, India is the seventh largest economy with $2.29 trillion there. Now there is a change there. We have been gradually developing and our resources are expressed in the international currency like dollars there. But India, though is a rapid path for development since independence, our Human Development Index still stands at 130 out of 180 countries there. What does this Human Development Index means? That's literacy, gender parity, etc. So ultimately, concept of development can be expressed in quantitative terms like what is GDP, what is GNP, what is the per capita income of the people there. That is one way of expressing it. What is the other way of possibly knowing a country's status in terms of development is through gender parity, Human Development Index, skill force that we have at our disposal. So between 1951 and 1991, major plans are implemented. There were days when India's growth story registered in minus terms, minus 0.24 like that to minus 0.42 like that. Now we are gradually moving away, and by 2010, India's development expressed through growth is that you see, or the other way around, is that you see growth went on increasing at 10% there. Then how do we understand this? So this is to understand how we have invested in agriculture, public financing of agriculture, public investment in agriculture, public investment in industry, public investment in social sector. These constitute the core of development. So year by year, our investments in these sectors helped in what is called gaining self-sufficiency in agriculture, in selected industries, and also in social sectors where best of our people are going abroad and are helping multinational corporations. Like for instance, if you look at the IT sector there, over a period of time, because of the investments in technology education, we are able to reach the level where we are able to really get consolidated view on the role of India in or India's manpower in human development and technological development. So I have been emphasizing on one aspect, that is between 1951 and 1991. Why I am saying 1991 repeatedly? It is because by 1991, India's rating as far as international investors is concerned is touching a new low at that time. So the government invited the experts to analyze the causes for our low performance or for our inability to honor debt payments as far as international lenders are concerned. So what is known as through structural adjustment program, government changed the structure. It is called structural adjustment because in place of state, now private sector is given freedom to invest there. This is called delicensing in 1991, that was announced through new economic policy. Government started looking at its own role in variety of ways. One is that delicensing, and it thought that to say, in addition to government investment, we should also encourage or allow private sector to invest in selected areas there. So government started withdrawing from such areas where its core competence is not felt, or it was desirable at that time to withdraw from such sectors where its performance is not up to the mark there. So how we should understand it as students of economic and financial administration? The government decided to declare certain areas as areas in which both government and private sector can invest there. After all, we should realize that investment is most important, and investment decides the pace of development of a country there. When the governments are unable to mobilize resources further in new areas for investment, then it looks at private sector there. You must also remember that between 1951 and 1987, private sector was not looked at as a great companion for economic development or a great partner in the development process there, because we always looked at private sector with suspicion. But things started changing rapidly after 1987, and so much so that by 1991 government came out with new economic policy, and from then onwards you will be noticing a significant increase in the budget as far as development is concerned there. We should look at it from different dimensions. One of them is that say how budgets in quantitative terms, how are they looking now, compared to that. These shifts in the focus of the budget post 91, UPA and NDA governments are presented in brief in subsequently in the text material that you can find out for a greater understanding of this. So when we say development there, we always refer to what? That if development, political science students or political scientists describe development as what is called proliferation of opportunities for participation there. In general, development means according to very eminent economists, Amartya Sen and others, that it is expansion of opportunities, choosing opportunities, how we can choose many opportunities there, or equality. These are the issues that generally indicate the status of a country's development there. So, if it is social sector, we will be looking at education, health, how we are treating our senior citizens through pensions, how marginalized communities are helped, and how poor people are helped by the state there through a variety of programs. Like for instance, in 70s, we thought that say the clarion call given for Garibi Hatao, like wiping away the poverty from India. It translated into public policies through a number of institutional interventions like district rural development agencies or special agencies like Integrated Tribal Development Authority, Integrated Rural Development Authority, through which we started implementing number of interventions there. The money for these special schemes comes from the budget as plan budget there. So from plan to plan, we went on increasing the focus and intensity of the implementation of these programs, which helped over a period of time to overcome poverty by many people there. I must also caution you that there are also studies which show that after overcoming the poverty obstacles there, people again slipped into poverty because sustainable livelihoods were not ensured by public policies there. Then that problem got addressed through various means there. So that is also in a sustainable way that a nation's development is also measured through the level of employment there. In order to sustain the employment, we came out with a very innovative program like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program there, which has a legislative support and which has given a kind of a right to work as far as millions of people in India is concerned. The support for this program comes from the budgets there, how much we are allocating to this important program to see that people don't die of hunger during non-agricultural seasons there. So there is a strong link between budget and development. Unless budgets are seen in the broader light of strengthening public policies for development, you cannot really appreciate this. Then one of the goals subsequently is also like inclusiveness. What happened is that in the earlier part of my presentation, I have been telling you growth expressed like 10. We reached the number 10 from minus to 10 growth percentage there. What happens is that whether this growth meant anything for development, while budgets push up growth, what happens is that say the budget's growth does not automatically ensure development unless budgets also specify policies and programs through which these benefits or fruits of growth get translated into development there. So if development is not inclusive, which means that say unless people who deserve to be helped are not covered through these various programs, what happens is that say many get excluded. To that extent, once people are excluded, it is not called inclusive development there. So new concepts, while earlier we thought that it is Garibi Hatao and Antyodaya, subsequently a new focus on development of the marginalized sections of the people, a greater push is given for what is called inclusion as a policy through the budgets there. That's how. Like it is also in specific terms like agriculture, industries, services sector, infrastructure development, and also funding of the states there. You may be knowing that states are the main arms of the federal structure in India there. The states are directly in touch with the people there, and much more directly are the Panchayat Raj institutions there. Budgets, especially after 1993, After the passing of the 73rd and the 74th Amendment, Panchayat Raj institutions and Nagarapalika institutions across the country started getting budgetary support as they find place, in the constitution there. So the three-tier structure of governance in India, the union government, the states, and the Panchayat Raj institutions are now given funds through an important instrument called Finance Commission there. Much of the Finance Commission's recommendations are based on what is called the budgetary allocations also. So the Finance Commission is an important instrument again, which affected through the budget allocates resources to various states and Panchayat Raj institutions there. So the governance of the country largely is determined by the budgetary focus it gives, particularly to development. And unless we develop, we can't find a new place for India in the committee of nations there. And while after globalization, liberalization, and privatization, nations are racing forward with higher GDP, higher GNP rates there, there are also certain international developments like in 2008, where the economic crisis across the world, which has affected India also in some ways or other there. So through budgetary instruments, the stimulus to the growth occurred through variety of public policy instruments there. And if you see it as a comparison, you will notice what happened after 91, before 91, especially after 2008, you will see expansion in budgetary allocations there or burgeoning budgets there. How? In 1951, it was only 378 crores as the expenditure we have shown, and as far as the total expenditure was concerned, we could spend only 197 crores there. Our population in 1951 was not more than 36 crores. Now, by 1991, if you take it as a watershed in the economic history of the country there, the budget needed at that time was 1,13,420 crores, 422 crores there. And now India's population stands at 84 crores in 1991. You will be noticing it from 36 to 84 crores in a matter, the huge increase in population in a matter between 1951 and 1991 there. But our budget by 2000 was 3,38,487 crores. And in 2011, if you take it after the world, economic crisis, it was 12,57,729 crores. And this year, it stands at 21,47,000 crores there. So you will notice that we can't express it in number of times there. There is a huge increase in the outlays, huge increase in number of, ways the government intends to spend. Slowly, steadily, and effectively, government through public policies is trying to reach the unreached so far through a variety of programs, using budget as an important area for bringing or hastening economic development there. Number of social scientists have commented on how we need to invest more or how to increase public investment for especially in areas like rural development there. So two important economists have even came out with methodology for measurement of poverty. Once we came to know how to measure poverty, we started devising special schemes for special category of people there to help them overcome the poverty and destitution. And for instance, in every plan up until recently, because finally planning came to an end recently, because in the place of Planning Commission, there is now a Niti Aayog, which is like a national think tank to advise the governments there in place of Planning Commission. The priority areas are many there, like for instance, drinking water, then development of cities. Earlier, it was called Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission. Now it is redesignated into a new program called Smart Cities there. So the focus went on, like, for instance, how we became self-sufficient in agriculture there through green revolution, how public investment in agriculture helped in augmenting as far as output, agricultural output is concerned. This is especially through the budgetary mechanisms of supporting, especially how we need to integrated area development programs, integrated agriculture development programs. Number of programs were reached, and the backup, how to participate in high yielding varieties in agriculture practices, what kind of training needs to be given on all fronts. It is budget which specifies how it needs to go about there. The amount that is available for each category of intervention is mentioned for keeping the broad objectives of development in view. For instance, the average annual growth rate of agriculture and allied sectors was 3.6% during the 11th plan, but it was 2.5% and 2.4% in the 9th and 10th plans respectively. So once a target is fixed, then the institutional mechanisms are mobilized to implement that policy with financial allocations that are very clearly available to the implementation agencies there through a variety of instruments like agriculture credit, and also the National Institute for Biotic Stress Management for addressing plant protection issues, farmer producer organizations, and National Livestock Mission. Look at the variety of interventions there. They are both macro and micro. In a comprehensive way, the problem needs to be tackled. What about those who are below the poverty line, belonging to priority population groups like SCs, STs, women and children? How minorities must be helped, how disabled persons must be helped, how health and education must be helped in variety of ways, like how health and education sectors need to be strengthened by higher allocation and new policy orientations. So you will be seeing that how the University Grants Commission is now planning to make higher education available through program like Swayam with special allocations there, how to strengthen this new interventions there. In addition to, of course, continuing conventional systems of education, how we can. But no, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy, medical education, training and research, the All India Institutes of Medical Sciences across the country, new institutions, new central universities. So stepping up investment in education, in various categories of education, all these help in overall pushing of the growth, and thereby we will be reaching the goal of development, of finding new means of strengthening public institutions there. Then you have also integrated child development schemes. You have maternal and child malnutrition, how it needs to be, how food security can be ensured, can we guarantee right to food, and if so, how it can be done through, once the right is formulated, what is the role of the government there. Investment, infrastructure, industry, these are like more investment is required from domestic and foreign investors. Like government alone cannot burden itself with the issues relating to investment there. So the 12th plan at that time projected an investment of $1 trillion for augmenting infrastructure there. Then comes the road construction. You must have seen Pradhan Mantri's Sadak Yojana, a host of other interventions to give a fillip to the transportation or for augmenting the infrastructure in the transport area, like ports, airports, and also roads, and a host of other interventions in this will push up the desire on the part of the international investors to possibly invest in India, to push up possibly the development goals there. Then introduction of investment allowance for new and high value investments. Like you also, by the way, we have also passed on several acts like right to information, right to education. These will have a positive impact on the international investors to come and invest in India, in addition to the investments by the government. Like you have a National Electronic Policy of 2012, which is intended to promote manufacture of electronic goods in India. These were announced as part of budgets there. Once it finds a place in the budget, it gets priority and it gets allocations for its effective implementation. There is also a focus on how the savings and investment ratio. Economists say that, say, unless people start saving there, the new investments cannot be thought of there. So there is also incentive for savings there, and establishment of industrial corridors, or also like special economic zones, and how to ensure that, say, the various agencies participate in this, like national waterways, and how you can think of strengthening coal sector, power sector, micro, small and medium enterprises, textiles, foreign trade, financial sector, banking, rural housing, multi-pronged approach to be followed to increase the penetration of insurance, life and general insurance, and capital markets. And a people to amend the SEBI Act, and what steps need to be taken for protection of environment, because all development interventions, if they lead to destruction of environment, then we need to be cautious as to how we should protect our environment there. When it comes to this year's budget, interestingly, you will notice, first of all, there is almost wiping off the difference between what is called the plan and the non-plan budget. They no more exist. In its place, we have what is called revenue and expenditure budgets there. How much the government gets the money and how much it has to spend on various committed schemes and policies there, what needs to be done. If you see that, it reflects the policy intentions of the government in power. Like the present government has chosen the following as priority areas there, like to double the income of farmers in the next 5 years, 2017 and 18. Beginning with this, the government announced its intention to double up the farmers' income in the next 5 years there. What needs to be taken, what steps need to be taken there. The policy intention of the government is announced here, and it also announced providing employment and basic infrastructure to rural population, and to announce its intention to energize the youth through education, skill and employment opportunities. And it also announced its intention to strengthen the systems of social security, health care and affordable housing, and creation of infrastructure for efficiency or productivity and quality of life, protect financial sector through growth and stability by stronger institutions, initiate measures for ensuring speed, accountability and transferring through digital economy, ensure effective governance and efficient public services through people's participation, put in place policy directions for optimal development of resources and ensure fiscal stability. Finally, tone up tax administration by honoring the honest there. So when it comes to that, the schemes are, the policy announcements make it very clear as to how it is going to be in the next 1 year there. Around these 10 major policy intentions of the government, the budgetary allocations are done. So you'll get a view about 4 important budgets that are given in your text, the e-text, covering the 1991 priorities, the 2001 budget priorities and how it proposes to invest in development, the 2011 budget and now the 2017 budgets are included to give you a comparative picture as to how governments propose to speed up development or to bring in development, and also give you further idea as to the focus of the governments over a period of time there. Each budget has a policy orientation This is not a major deviation from the earlier budgets as such there, but focus and thrust of each budget is interesting to observe there. And within a year, they take the shape of implementation there. Added to that, in 2017, the finance minister also announced the performance of the government through what is called output report. Now, so far, the outcome orientation, how much it is done there. Like for instance, in variety of ways, this budget is different there in policy terms and other things, like dispensing away with plan and non-plan, and merger of railway with the general budget, and the proposal for initiating new welfare provision as announced through the economic survey of starting a uniform basic income there. Maybe they are studying the models of other countries, and this uniform basic income, which was mentioned in the socio-economic survey, promises to do away perhaps with various subsidies, and in its place, if the money is transferred to the people there, some money is given, then they will be in a position to buy goods and services there. Added to that, very interestingly, 10 lakh crores of rupees is allocated for credit as far as farming community is concerned, with 60 days interest waiver. And finally, NABARD fund will increase to 40,000. Several of these new interventions are intended in agriculture, industry, social sector, which are expected to show results as far as the development parameters are concerned there. Thank you.